What's up, game changers? Welcome to the end game. Kind of crazy, isn't it? All these things happening around us. It's part of the return of Christ. It's not just an ascension. That's what ascension means, though, is to rise up to God, right? It is truly the return of Christ, and that has been playing out on this channel, unbeknownst to me, because it was my life. It was my awakening. Today, we're going to talk about some very important things. I have a channeled message that it is needed to hear, that they want me to give here as well. And then we're going to talk about the fact that everything happens through you, not to you. And we're going to get into what that means exactly, because understanding that helps, trust me. It's something my grandmother told me when I was younger, just in a very different way. So what does the return of Christ mean anyways? Everybody's looking for Jesus, right? But what about Adam and Eve? What about Sekhmet and Horus? And what about Mary Magdalene? So the return of Christ, in truth, it was my life. So Spirit wants me to say it, that it is me. I am the return of Christ. I used to say I brought it through, but that's not accurate. It was my life unfolding through the choices that I made by listening to Spirit, just following the nudges to do things, and then things would come through me. Because nothing happens to you, it happens through you, right? So clearing Mount Shasta, I had a Kundalini awakening in 2019. Then I started healing people in ways I'd never seen done before. And now I have my Light Healers Academy in the end of that. So I can help other people heal, because you can't heal in the old earth anymore. Or, I mean, you can, but you're not healing through God's light, okay? Unless you make it through and you make it through the activations and you can see what's happening, you're not healing in God's light anymore. So there is that aspect, because part of the return of Christ, I changed the whole entire blueprint of the earth. Okay. I went to Fiji after activating Mount Shasta, clearing Mount Shasta, sorry, not activating it. I had to clear it, cut it off from life support eventually. And then in part 2, that's where I burned Samael. You can watch those videos because there's a lot to it. In part 1, I undid contracts all the way back to Abraham Lincoln, which were not of light. And then I went to Fiji, activated a pyramid underwater there. That was the first pyramid I activated, and it's a female one. I didn't know what that meant at the time either. The first half of the ones that I did were all feminine, and then the last bit of the ones that I did were masculine, and my DM helped me in the energy. I lost a twin flame on this journey, and I gained a new one. What a blessing that is, and I'm so happy about that, honestly, at this point. But I tried the Nile. I activated pyramids all over the globe. I returned the triangle of the eye back to the God portal instead of over Mount Shasta, which was filled with darkness. So that was the veil that I undid, and so much more, you guys. There's a lot to it. I undid the unholy grail. It wasn't holy at all. It wasn't a cup either. Jesus did not die on a cross. I united him and Mary Magdalene. And then eventually, the Sekhmet time frame, I dried up the Nile and I opened up the 13 gates to heaven, and I closed down all 12 gates of darkness. I brought through all of Revelations, and you guys, there's so much more, and it's all in this channel, so I encourage you to watch it. But that's not what today is about, and trust me, I have the proof, okay? But it's not what today is about. And even recently, Ashtar came through and said, if you can't see the work that I did through me or in the energy, you're not connected to the light, okay? And you may not stay. So things are happening in a very real space, okay? So Spirit wants me to give this message really quick that I gave on Facebook yesterday, because it's important for everybody to understand and to hear, because it hurts everybody when they do this. So do not get complacent just because things do not happen in your timeline, right? So I say a lot of things, but it hasn't happened yet, so people don't think it's real, and that's your ego. Because here's why. Proof has been given and it played out right in front of your face. That's true. Everything happened through me. It was recorded because Spirit told me to record them. And then other people also rose through me, and I also helped them through the gates as I went through the gates. And the proof is all right there. It's stuff I can't deny. I can't deny it if I tried, and I tried at some point. We are in a karmic warp, a karmic timeline. Understand that. When I did the anointing of the blood of Christ, took Jesus's blood and we put it all over the earth, and some of our foreheads and our water was blessed and stuff even. That's a key too. They told you it was a karmic shift. And then when I activated Ecuador, they told you all of your timelines, all of your past lives don't matter anymore. This is a great reset, and that's also what I did. The Sphinx was involved. It's a cool thing. Horus returned, Sekhmet returned, Adam and Eve, and Jesus and Mary Magdalene. All twin flames that were separated, okay? So let me read this again. Do not get complacent just because things do not happen in your time. And I channeled this for my live yesterday on Facebook. Excuse me. Proof has been given and it played out right in front of your face. Okay, you just have to look at the proof, but a lot of people refuse to. In a karmic warp and a timeline, that's what you are in. Everything will be a surprise. So nobody can escape their karma. So God's not going to sit here and tell you, yes, I cut off life support to California. Yes, I saw it fall into the ocean. Yes, but they're not going to tell you when. That's silly. Lots of people constantly ask me when, and it's like, that's not the focus. We are in the last 2 cycles of our life, right? But that can shift. Their time is not our time. And so understanding at the end, yes, this is every day we need to make it matter. That's the purpose. Okay. They aren't going to tell you anything else. So just because things aren't happening in your timeline when you assume that they should, does not mean that that's not real. It's all been proven and played out right in front of your face. We are in a karmic warp and a karmic timeline. Everything will be a surprise. Focus not on expectations, but how to get into heaven's vibrations. The 13 gates of abundance are only available for those in the new earth. Okay. So I did that too. I did a 12 gates of abundance because I also have a lot of stuff in the path. You call your power back, all your karma's risen out. Like it's insane how much we do, how much I did, and how much you have to do. But if people can't even watch my video, are they going to make it through? Probably not, because it's actual Christ work. So if you can't see it, if you can't see God, right, you can't be in God's new earth. So there's a 13 gates of abundance once you get through the 13th gate into heaven's earth, into new earth, into heaven's gates. And I know what that looks like in order to get into the new earth. It's not just, you're not just there. You have to have your karma contract has to be all cleared. I've measured those. I've looked at those, heart reviews done. Then you get purified, then you get a key, and then you get walked into the new earth. And that's very real. That's Revelations. Revelations 21:12 talks about it. Revelations 21:13 actually played through me as well. That's where I changed the earth's equilibrium from the north, east, south, and west, and the west back to the north. And then I filled it with Christ light and I shifted it. Yeah, so I did a lot, and I moved the poles and I added 5 more. And nobody else can do that. Okay, so that's why they want me to start saying I am the return of Christ rather than it happened through me. So that was the message they wanted everybody to hear. It's very important. Okay, so just because it didn't happen in your timeline, it's a karmic play out. And so that's probably part of your karma. Okay, so be careful. Focus not on expectations, but how to get into heaven's vibrations. Okay. All right, number 2, we are going to talk about everything happens through you and not to you. Okay. So you are not a victim of your circumstance. You are absolutely, unequivocally never have been a victim of your circumstance. And now here's the thing about that. When I was, how old was I? About 15, maybe? I can't remember the exact age now because it's a memory I don't focus on a lot. And I had a lot going on with my life at that time frame. Might have been a little bit younger. Yeah, it was before high school. I think it was middle school time frame. I went out with a friend of mine. And some bad things happened. Very, very bad things happened. And when I got home, nobody seemed to care. I mean, these were arrestable offenses that happened to me. It's something that should have been dealt with, especially for my psyche, let alone the punishment of those involved. And my grandmother once told me, she goes, "Oh, child." And she was harsh sometimes. I know she meant well. She was actually a tarot reader too. It's just nothing I believed in for a long time. It's not that I didn't believe in it. It's just there was something wrong there. So I didn't focus on it till I had my awakening and things came through me, right? But she told me that, everything that happens to me is my fault. And with the event that took place that happened to me at that time, it was not good. And when she told me that, oh my gosh, that threw me for a loop. I'm like, what the hell do you mean that was my fault? I didn't ask for that. I didn't ask for that. Who would ask for that? But then again, if I hadn't have gone, it wouldn't have happened. Okay. If I hadn't have been so wanting that friend and wanting to impress people and go, when I knew in my heart, I didn't trust my gut, right? My gut told me not to go, and I didn't trust it, and I went anyways, and then something very bad happened. And that's when she told me that. She didn't say it very lovey, right? But it's true. Nothing happens to us, it happens through us. Darkness cannot affect you unless you let it. Okay? It messes with your psyche, and I've been talking about this a lot. Everybody has some form of karma to clear, okay? Even if it's very slight. Some of us do have a pure heart and others don't. A purer heart, I should say, because mine was pure. But it still doesn't mean that I didn't have karma to clear through the 13 gates, right? And my karma had to do with Adam and Eve, Jesus and Mary Magdalene, and Sekhmet and Horus. It's not just about Jesus, but my DM took on that lifetime too. And then Horus rose recently as well. The Sekhmet portal, the Nile, happened back in June of 23. So these things have already been completed. All right. But the reason we are here, right? I recently did a video on God and how he's all love. He didn't cause the flood in Atlantis. That was because the fallen came down, manipulated, used what they used to mess with people, Adam and Eve in particular. Adam made some decisions he probably shouldn't have made, and Eve just didn't fight it back then. But my heart was always pure. And then they shifted the poles, and that's why the floods came, okay? So God didn't do that to punish. The Bible lies about some things. God would not do that. It was caused through mankind, through the choices that they made, allowing the darkness in. So nobody's really a victim of their circumstance. It's through the choices you make. Since then, it's been a karmic play out. Now, when I did the anointing of the blood of Christ, they told you it was a karmic shift. So we will no longer be able to play out our karma past this time frame anymore, but right now it's in a karmic warp. So that's the return of Christ, right? God doesn't judge you. It's your karma. You reap what you sow. And God said that too a while back during when I was bringing it about. I'm like, what is Judgment Day? It's you reap what you sow day. So my mom calls it, and that makes sense, right? So nothing happens to you. You are not a victim of your circumstance. So if you have a family that is quite difficult, that you don't quite mesh with, that upset you, druggies, things like this, it's all a part of your karmic ties. Okay. Everything happens as a gift for you to grow as a soul, because that's what Earth was about. It was like a school, right? We had to come into a veil, we couldn't see things, and hopefully choose love back to God. That was the purpose of life. But now you have no choice, because it's the end of ways. End of days for some, end of ways for all outside of God. Okay, the new earth is pure blueprint of God and love. You cannot carry karma, you cannot carry shadow through. You can't. That's if you actually watch my videos in the path that I did. You're on my path either way. It's either the karmic timeline or you rise through your karma through your choice through the path to righteousness. Either way, you will be in a karmic warp. Okay, because you reap what you sow, my friends. The shadow gets into your head and gets you to do things that maybe you wouldn't have normally done. They mess with your free will through manipulation, through fear, through judgment, through expectations, through making you think that they can do one better. Right? And then money became corrupted and became about power and control and division, and so did religion. God does not call it religion. He calls it religion for a reason. So when you consider that everything on this planet is because it's your design, all right? You made these choices because it was time for you to grow as a soul. And now in the new earth stuff with the end of ways, you have to finally grow now or you don't go, okay? This is it. It's now or never. So you either fully grow as a soul now or you don't stay, right? So judging me doesn't help you. The proof is right in front of you. I do so many things that prove it all the time. So many things, from predicting what happened to the submersible to a satellite falling out of the sky when I undid the darkness of the moon the first time. And I said it in there that it would. When I activated Kilimanjaro, I kept saying Krakatoa, Krakatoa, and 6 days later it erupted. I also kept saying Hawaii. I have to protect Hawaii. I don't want to lose it all. And then I think within hours or a week or two, it burned. That last fire that happened that nobody can explain to this day. So if you're truly watching my work, and then also one time we lightning struck the White House, and that happened in real time. And I think 2 people passed away in that one. So if you're truly watching, you would see the proof. Okay, it's all right there in front of you. And not to mention it's biblical. Everything aligns with the actual true Bible, because not all of it was true. They manipulated some of it. But the parts that are real, the parts that did matter, it aligns with everything that I did. And I've never read the Bible. Trust me, I was not religious. I didn't believe in that. But I had God in my heart. Okay, I'm a mystic, just like Jesus was. There's a reason. So anyways, consider that everything was actually designed by you. You designed things to be difficult. You designed karmic lessons. You designed all these challenges because it's either through people you have hurt, through choices that you have made, and it is your karmic play out. Karma doesn't play out exactly how you think it's going to, but everybody has to pay karma, okay? And that's why they call it Judgment Day. But God doesn't judge. He's all love. So that's a distorted concept. It's you reap what you sow. And that's why everything will be a surprise in the end of ways. They aren't going to tell you when anything is happening, because nobody can run from their karma. Some people feel it though. That's why they're building bunkers and they know. They knew when I undid the Holy Grail. Spirit said they knew. And I even saw this crazy post not too long ago where Obama was like, we'll do a digital Holy Grail. And I'm like, what? They can't. It's done. It burned to ash. I undid it. If you want to know what that is, watch that video. It played out live on this channel. I didn't see it coming, and it happened on Christmas Day in 2022. I was supposed to be working the crisis line that day, and Spirit said, call off and do a healing on your YouTube. So I did. And little did I know that I united Jesus and Mary Magdalene and undid the Holy Grail that day on Christmas Day in 22. So that was real. It's really cool to watch. It was quite painful to do. But again, he had to make the choice to do what he did to have happened what happened, right? And even though it was used against his free will, so they manipulate your free will to do it, much like they did with the V. But some people still chose to take it, didn't they? And some people didn't. No matter what, and I talked about that when I talked about God recently, is who's God. You can't be a conformist. Okay, because that's where they get you. People want to conform. It's fear, and I better do this, and I'll help the collective if I take that V. No, you didn't. Not at all. Actually, it hurt, because if people understood how those things work, they might actually see that it caused more damage than good. But they don't know. They're trusting doctors, right? They're trusting people who are supposed to be helpful for them. So that's how it works. So things can't happen to you. They only happen through you. The shadow will try to get you to do things. It's up to you to pick it up and do it. And I call that the asshole energy sometimes, because people have thrown it at me. And I didn't throw it at them. Never did I. I'm a reflection of you. Okay, so what you see in me, you can only see in you. You cannot see something in others that doesn't reside in you. Okay, that's an enlightened concept. You'll start to wake up to that. Okay, you start to realize that, man, I saw that affected me. I need to heal that in me. Okay, don't throw your shadow at anybody else. Because those are your wounds reflecting back to you. When you shift, your world around you shifts. Okay, when you shift, the people around you shift. When you come out of karmic patterns, your karmic relationships fall. Okay, it's all up to you. Nothing happens to you. You are not a victim of your circumstance. I wasn't necessarily a victim of all the pain I went through on the Return of Christ path. It was very painful, but I'm honored. I would do it again. I sacrificed my twin soul to do it, and I got a beautiful new one. And that was a blessing from God, because I kept going through. My heart was pure, and he made the choices not to, but I chose to go ahead and let him go. And he did die. Who he was is gone. The David part went somewhere else. It went backwards into something else, and the part that is my new DM went forward into a new person. My twin soul part went into a new masculine. So who we know as the original Jesus or Adam is gone. We have all changed and shifted into that DNA. I had to rebirth the moon into that. And then recently Horus rose and he took on that lifetime as well. And he got the light on his chest of the moon. It was beautiful. And he rose from the Sphinx. That was so cool to see and witness because I didn't know it was coming. But it was beautiful and it affected me. And man, we shifted, and De La Roca saw it within 24 hours in the energy. So that's why Ashtar says, is if you can't see what I did in the energy, because it's all in the Akasha records, it's in the energy, or you can see it through me. If you can't do either, you won't make it, number one. And then if you pick up the shadow and throw it my way or at anybody, that's not love either. Okay. And then you create more karma. So you can't have karma going through. The shadow, that's what it does to you. It wants to get you to do something outside of God. Okay. So you are not a victim of your circumstances. Your life is playing out in which you created it to do so through the measures of your own karmic patterning. Okay. So where you struggle is where you need to heal. You are not a victim of your circumstances. And I know that can be harsh sometimes because I've had very painful things happen to me in my past. Very painful, but honestly, they're either tests or testaments to God, right? What do you choose? What do you conform to? What do you allow to happen? Can you find love through all of that? Those are also tests. Okay. But then they can also be karmic playouts. So you are not a victim. None of us are victims. God didn't hurt anybody. People want to blame God. It wasn't God at all. So some will turn against him too, because they're not seeing clearly. Okay. So you can only see what you can see. But everything that happens to you is a choice that you make. Especially in the end of days. God doesn't just say, oh, I choose you. I don't do that. If you make it through my path, it's not because I'm like, oh, I like you and I like you. You need to do this. Trust me, I've tried to get my mom to take my path 6 times now, and she just can't. It's not meant for her, unfortunately. The path to righteousness that makes her separate from the karmic wrath. I can't get her to take it. So even though we want people to rise, we can't force them to either, because it's all through free will. Okay. So the shadow will manipulate your free will because it has to be through you, not to you. And that's what the media would do to you as well. They would get everybody to believe something to be true, even though it wasn't. And that was the power. It was like enslaving all of mankind so that they had your power, because they had none otherwise. They don't have power without manipulating that of God. That's what happened. They wanted God's power. And then imagine they have all you like on leashes, right? And they keep you in a low vibration. They keep you blinded to what's really happening. And then they get you to do things outside of God. And then you become theirs. And that's why they say heaven and hell. But God does not call it that either. You're either of the light or you fall from it, period, or you're not. In my first DM, he was not, and it hurt. It was one of the most painful feelings I've ever felt. And I kept saying, I choose love, I choose love, right? Because love is a good feeling. The rest hurts. Being void of God hurts. I wouldn't want to go there. I don't want the old earth where God doesn't exist. No, thank you. I choose God. I choose love. And I did the whole way through, and I stood against anything that tried to stop me and the ascension and everything. And I sacrificed quite a bit. So nothing happens to you. It always happens through you. You are not a victim of your circumstance. And every reflection you see in others that you don't like is a reflection of you. You cannot see something in me. As a master healer, I spark your shadow. I will show you your wounds tenfold, more than others probably will, because I'm a master healer. I can't do anything but that. I am the return of Christ. I can't do anything but reflect back to you what needs to be healed in you. And so when people actually pick that up and throw it my way, they don't realize they just anchored into the shadow. Okay. Because you cannot see in somebody else that doesn't reside in you to see. You cannot. And that actually came through in my card deck, Ascension Portal Messages. It's an enlightened concept that you get once you awaken to that point. Okay. The world was created for your reflections so that you can heal and rise above and choose love and see karma and things like that. Okay. And I've had so many people tell me, I don't want to be with my family. They're alcoholics. They're this. I've shunned them. Right. Do you know what you just did? I mean, you created that scenario at some point in your history line. Okay. And we are all playing out our biggest karmic timeline because I erased everything back to the beginning of time. No matter who you are, your past lives will no longer exist going forward. You're either reborn here or somewhere else and you start all over. So you either start all over in the karmic playout or you make it into the new earth. And here's what God says about that. Some will go. They won't stay here. They'll just go, but they'll probably go to the other side, we call it, right? And some will stay. Those are the ones who make it all the way through into new earth. We have to understand, though, we won't be coming back so quickly because you can't go into the new earth until it's all cleared either way. So if you don't clear it here, you get to a certain point, you'll have to clear it on the other side. And then others won't know life this way at all. That's where they go to the old earth, they'll anchor into that, and they will start all over in another karmic play out thing. So choose wisely. Don't pick up asshole energy. Don't throw your reflections back at anybody. And that's not easy. Okay. The karmic path, the karmic wrath that I brought about is not an easy one to rise through. And that's why not everybody will choose to, because it takes fortitude and it takes pure soul growth. Okay. It takes pure recognition that you're not a victim of your circumstances. No matter what those circumstances are, you did something to allow them to come through. Okay. So use these messages to change the game, my friends, because you don't know. Okay. But the proof of who I am played out right in front of all of you. And if you can't see it, that's on you. You're allowing the shadow to block you, or your ego, or whatever. It's all shadow. The shadow is El Diablo. The shadow is not just a part of you. It's not meant to be a part of you. That's a distorted concept. The shadow is not a part of you. It is energy that got in, that manipulated you and got you to do things to create karma. It's El Diablo. Okay, that was the false veil. That was Mount Shasta. That was the fallen. The shadow is not a part of you. You allowed it to integrate through you, through choices that you made. Albeit some were blinded, right? I didn't know what I was doing. That's fair. Now rise above and do it in love. So much love to all of you. I hope you have an amazing, beautiful, splendid, spontiferous day of excitement and joy, and you are ready to change the game. Until next time, because if you don't rise, your loved ones can't rise either, because all of you are a chosen one. I, however, am not. I'll see you later. Have a great day.